September 21st meeting of the Hammond Plan Commission. First order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. Here. Here.
Sandy Harris. Dan Herbert.
Here.
William Hutton. Juan Moreno.
Here.
Michael Pinker.
Here.
Kimberly White. Thomas White. 5 present. We have a quorum.
Next order of business is the approval of the minutes of the August 17th meeting. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any questions or comments on the minutes? Hearing none, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those against, motion passes. We move down to old business. We have CP 15-16B, petition of the Marina District Development LLC for approval of the final plat of PUD for the Marina District Development Plan Unit Development located at 856 through 954 Indianapolis Boulevard and 1001 to 1129 Fifth Avenue. Were the notices sent out for the public hearing?
Yes, they were.
Dan?
Good evening. I'm Dan Tersman with Marina District Development, here to request approval of the final plat of PUD for the Marina District Development, Plan Unit Development in the city, to the city of Hammond. This is the request for the final approval of the plat that we presented here in the development at the corner of Fifth Avenue and Indianapolis Boulevard. As we discussed in the preliminary approval process, the development is planning for 8 developable lots and 2 outlots. The 2 outlots would be used for infrastructure, roadways, both private and public roadways, and as well as a detention pond. I guess I should say the public roadway is not part of the development, so that's right away. So sorry, Brian. I figured. So, the parent parcel includes Lot 1A of Luke's 850 edition, as well as the Lot 1A of the replat of the new Roby First edition, and it also includes the previously vacated portion of Fifth Avenue and vacated 110th Street. The plat that we're looking at here is essentially the same plat that we presented for preliminary approval, with a couple of just minor corrections to some of the easements that we noticed through the process that needed to be addressed to properly address some of the layouts of the utilities and that. But no major changes to the original plat. And if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Any questions? From staff or from any Plan Commission members? If there aren't any, then I'm going to open the public hearing. The public hearing is open. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to comment on CP 15-16B? Anyone wanting to comment? Public hearing is closed. Chance for the commissioners, if there's any questions. I know we've been through this before. There are just minor changes. If there's nothing, Brian, do you have the staff report?
Yes. Just to capture a few things, at the September 14th meeting of the City Council, the overall plan of the PUD was approved. That included the rezoning of the property to the PUD zone and adopting the PUD district ordinance. So that just means all the property is in the same zoning district. And that allows us to go forward with the final plat. As noted by the petitioner, there were only those minor changes with the easements. The utilities had already reviewed and responded to the plat early on in part of the process. No objections were received. So staff recommends that the Plan Commission grant final approval of the plat for the Marina District Development, a Plan Unit Development addition to the City of Hammond.
We need two separate motions, one adopting the final approval of the plat and one of the findings of preliminary, findings of fact. Is that correct, Brian?
Yes.
Does anybody want to make one of those two motions?
I'll make the motion for the adoption.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Rodney Rock,
Yes.
Sam Sutton,
Yes.
Ann Herbert,
Yes.
Juan Moreno,
Yes.
Michael Baker,
Yes.
5 ayes, 0 nays, 0 abstentions, motion passed.
Now, do I have a motion to accept the staff report as preliminary findings of fact?
I'll make that motion.
Have a second?
Second.
Questions or comments? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Rodney Rock,
Yes.
Sam Sutton,
Yes.
Ann Herbert,
Yes.
Juan Moreno,
Yes.
Michael Baker,
Yes.
5 ayes, 0 nays, 0 abstentions, motion passed.
That completes CP 15-16B and also completes all of our old business. We move down to new business. CP 15-17, a petition of Wolford Incorporated on behalf of JP Morgan Chase Bank to request approval of a one-lot subdivision located at 2732 169th Street and 6917 Marshall Avenue, which is Zone C4 General Commercial District within the city of Hammond. Was the public hearing, was everybody notified?
Yes, they were.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, I'm Tim Reber from Wolpert. We're here for the subdivision of the existing Chase Bank on 169th Street. We're basically cleaning up some property issues that we've been working on with Brian for the last couple of years. We're granting an access easement on the southern portion of the property so that Van Cenis can access through our site and that the public can also access through our site. We're also vacating an alley, which was done at a previous meeting to kind of clean up all the entirety of the property issues. We're also granting an access easement to give Van Cenis access to their existing parking stalls at the northern end of our site along the east property line. We do have a representative here from Chase that can answer any questions about the Gainer Bank succession if needed. And I'm here to answer any questions specifically about the subdivision.
Any questions for the petitioner? If not, we will open the public hearing. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to comment on what I do with it? CP 15-17. Anyone in the audience? Anyone in the audience? Public hearing is closed. Are there any other questions from any of the commissioners of the petitioner? If not, Brian, do you want to give us a synopsis of the staff report?
Yes. This is kind of an unusual piece of property just based on some of the longstanding inherent circumstances with it. As was noted in the presentation, the City Council did approve the vacation of the alley. This alley lies approximately where the northernmost driveway is on the site. It's in essence an alley by paper only. It was never used for travel purposes or access to any of the adjacent areas for services. The area where people commonly drive is at the second entrance on Marshall Avenue. This is currently a part of the property that people drive across to get over to the Burger King as well as to the Van Cenis Auto Parts and to the north-south alley. The plat creates the access easement as was presented, formalizes it so that everybody has the right to use it. This access easement is in essence an exchange or a trade-off for vacating the actual platted alley. In reviewing the project, there are some changes, or there is expected to be some revisions to the site, some changes to how Chase functions, at least in the drive-through area. And the site plan has not achieved final approval. The site plan that's in your packet is really representative of one version of it. We have not accepted that. So that is a bit of an outstanding issue. There is a possibility, as we further review the site plan, there may or may not be an effect on some of the, on the access easement that provides the access to the parking spaces for the Burger King. I did receive a phone call from Mr. Van Sennis this morning. I know that he did talk to the Chase Bank representative, and I'm under the impression that he is okay with the plat. He did have basically concerns to make sure that the Burger King the property that he owns for the Burger King would still be able to access the parking spaces that are there. Staff has received responses from most of the utilities and review agencies. No objections were received. There was this discussion regarding the vacation of the alley that once you vacate an alley and there's utilities present, it becomes a utility easement. And in discussing some things with the surveyor as to whether or not they wanted to pursue going through the process to have the easement rights released for the utilities that are not there. So I would ask that question. Have you discussed that further as to whether or not you're going to seek the release of the easement rights for the utilities that are not there, not in the alley?
And we're in discussions with the utility company now to seek that release.
Okay, all right.
Who's in there right now?
Right now is AT&T
Yeah,
is in
phone line.
there, and I believe there was a gas line for NIPSCO that was in there. It was a plastic.
Gas line and AT&T and somebody else?
Just those two.
Oh, okay.
NIPSCO Gas and AT&T. They're buried currently, so that is kind of a site plan issue. If and that's kind of why I'm saying that you may want to preclude those other rights, because you don't want to have someone come in and putting aerial electric lines or cable or whatever.
Correct.
It would definitely mess up your site plan.
Just a quick clarification on the site plan. On the previous iterations that we've had, Brian, that we've had a lot of different reworking of the drive-through. The current site plan, we're just adding an ATM at the teller window. So we're not adding any additional lanes on the outside like we previously shown. So the existing traffic pattern, drive-through pattern will remain the same.
And that's something that we will continue to review, because that was really the big concern that was early on, that you were going to add the ATM on the outer side of the drive-through canopy, and that affected the access points around it. So we'll take that into consideration when we get to the next level of review of the site plan.
So the drawing is correct, but there's a drive-through for the window and then 2 for automatic tellers and a bypass lane?
I can't say that the site plan is correct. Stan, if you remember, we had talked about this site plan over the past couple of years and trying to make the drive lanes fit within the property and then not block access to the parking spaces that are adjacent to it. So, this information may end up resolving it, but, until we actually review it, it's still kind of an outstanding item.
Yeah, just to clarify, it's one, the first lane closest to the building is a teller window, and that's gonna be converted just to an ATM, but the lane's gonna stay exactly as is, and the flow's gonna stay it. And the second one is an existing ATM, that's gonna stay as is, and then the bypass line's gonna stay as is. And as Tim was saying, there was a previous plan maybe a year and a half ago, which we talked about, an outboard ATM, that's gone away, it's not on the plate at all anymore.
Yeah.
So there's only one ATM.
There's only one ATM now,
And
and we'll
there
just
could be
convert
2
the
if
teller, but the traffic flow, the site plan, 0 changes to that.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, there's been so many changes
Right.
in this for so many
I know.
years, that it's
Right.
hard for me to keep track.
Me too.
Okay, with that, staff does recommend that the Plan Commission grant both preliminary and final approval to the one-lot subdivision, and that is subject to granting the staff the opportunity to resolve any technical issues with the easements prior to the submission of the plat for the signature, and that's really based on this site plan question. And they've already addressed the fact that they're going to look into precluding the rights of the utilities that are no longer or not currently in the vacated alley. If the Planning Commission agrees with the recommendation, the staff requests that this report is adopted as preliminary findings of fact.
Any questions for staff? Anyone want to make the motion to grant preliminary and final approval of the one-lot subdivision, subject to granting staff to resolve any technical issues?
So moved.
I made that easy on you, didn't I? Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Roger Goff,
Yes.
Stan Sutton,
Yes.
Ann Herbert,
Yes.
Juan Moreno,
Yes.
Michael Finker. Yes. 5 ayes, 0 nays, 0 abstentions, motion passed.
Does anyone want to make a motion to adopt the staff report as preliminary findings of fact?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Questions or comments? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Roger Goff,
Yes.
Stan Sutton,
Yes.
Ann Herbert,
Yes.
Juan Moreno,
Yes.
Michael Finker. Yes. 5 ayes, 0 nays, 0 abstentions, motion passed.
Okay. That completes CP 15-17.
Tim, did you have the plat with, the Mylar with you?
Mylar, no.
No, okay, all right. And
It
it's
still
fine.
needs to be signed by the Board of Works, right?
Well, yeah, and
And the
it's,
Plan Commission.
I was just, making sure because, just in case there is an that we will be maybe fudging the lines a little bit, so I'm glad you didn't make it. That's really, I was just trying to clarify that.
Okay. Move down to CP 15-18, petition of the Marina District Development LLC for approval of the final development plan of PUD for lots 1, 3, Outlot A, Outlot B, and part of lots 4 and 7 in the Marina District Development Planned Unit Development. Mr. Tersma.
Good evening, Dan Tersman again with Marina
Was the
District.
public hearing, was everybody notified?
Sorry.
Okay, thank you. Sorry.
Again, with Marina District Development, this is the petition for the requesting approval for the development plan for several of the lots that are on the plat that we just discussed. Lots 1 and 3 are development plans that were previously presented under the original C2 zoning. This was brought up under CP 1513 a few months ago, knowing that this was part of the process. So a lot of the development plan and kind of guidelines that were followed were consistent with the C2, with exception to a few of the items that were addressed then in the PUD district ordinance that was passed through council a few months ago. Lots 1 and 3, the final development plan has been presented and I believe is consistent with that, the PUD district ordinance and consistent with, in general, with the C2 commercial zoning. Lots A and B, or outlots A and B, are the development plans for, again, the private access roadways as well as the detention basins to handle the on-site storm water detention. And as well as the access roadways providing access for each of the individual outlots. And also as part of this presentation, we also put we have 2 off-premise monument signs. So the details for those monument signs were also included in this package, and those would be placed on the easements that are shown on the plat for Lot 7 and Lot 4. So there is a monument sign that will be essentially utilized for the tenants that will be on Lot 1. That sign will actually be placed on Lot 4 in a sign easement, and that's so that there would be exposure to Indianapolis Boulevard. And then as well, there's an existing sign that would be shared by both Walmart and potentially another tenant, potentially at Lot 8 or one of the other tenants on the development, and that is located on Lot 7 in the easement. I think for the most part, again, most of the design elements and of the development plan were addressed in that preliminary plan and are consistent with what's being presented here. So there are no real changes other than what I just spoke of there. So I think that really, I guess, covers my end of it. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Any questions from any of the commissioners? If not, we'll open a public hearing. Even though there's no public here, we have to do this. Is there anyone who would like to comment? Anyone like to comment? Anyone like to comment? Public hearing is closed. Okay. This is your last opportunity to ask any questions. We're going to give the podium to Brian, and he's going to give us a short little dissertation of his 4-page recommendation.
I'm not sure if there's a such thing as a short dissertation.
It's called a synopsis.
Pretty good. Just a little bit further about lots 1 and 3. When the Plan Commission granted the approval of that under the C2 zoning, the Plan Commission also did grant waivers to some of the C2 provisions and establish the conditions. Those 3 conditions are indicated towards the bottom of the first page. And as we work through the rest of the project with the developing of the PUD language and the plat, all of those issues that may not have complied with the C2 zone were addressed and put into the language of the PUD so that they are now compliant with the PUD language. Since the Plan Commission had already granted this approval, the nature of this approval is really confirming that those previous developments or previous approvals on 1 and 3 are compliant with the PUD language. And as also was indicated, outlot A and B, that we've already discussed what their purposes are. So we're just granting final approval of that. Lot 4 and Lot 7, as was discussed, were the signs. When we discussed the C2 review, there was misunderstanding or miscommunication on where those signs were located, and the Plan Commission did approve them as if they were going to be on lots 1 and 3. This is correcting that and putting the signs, or having the approval of the signs on the actual property that they were intended to be constructed. The Plan Commission, when looking at a development plan, there's all those provisions under 16.51 that the Plan Commission has to address. A couple of them that are, I think, really worth noting is that with the private drives of Marina Drive and Roby, there is an existing agreement within for the Marina development that would have the maintenance of those 2 streets to be the responsibility of the private property owners, not the city. That also addresses some of the utility underlying sanitary or just storm.
I guess technically both, but storm was the one that was mainly, there was some, basically the storm that would be private would be tied into the detention ponds and essentially servicing the on-site drainage, but there would be an easement for public storm that was tied into Walmart's detention pond and lift station, the city's lift station.
Right. So again, within the overall agreement that the property owners have to be bound to, they'll be responsible for all the private lines. there is a notation on the plat that also addresses that. The open space requirement for the PUD is met on outlot A and B, and there, it actually exceeds the minimum 8% requirement. With that, the Plan Commission recommends that, I'm sorry, the staff recommends that the Plan Commission make the following motion to grant final approval of the development plan for lots 1 and 3, outlots A and B, and the signed part on lots 4 and 7, subject to the 2 points of confirming that the previous approval of the development plan for lots 1 and 3 is compliant with the PUD district ordinance, that the conditions of the exempt waiver related to lots 1 and 3 as required under the CP 1513 have been met, and said conditions are hereby released. And secondly, the condition of the exempt waiver as required under CP 15 as related to the signs that are now on lots 4 and 7 have been met, and that condition is also hereby released. And if the Plan Commission agrees with the recommendation, the staff requests that the report is adopted by the Plan Commission as preliminary findings of fact.
Any questions of staff? If not, do I have a motion to grant final approval of the development plan for lots 1 and 3, outlots A and B, and lots 4 and 7, subject to the staff recommendations of A and B?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Questions or comments?
Just to clarify that when you said lots 4 and 7, you left off the word partial.
Oh, partial.
Yeah, because when they come back for the full, actually when the buildings are ready to go, there will be a development plan presented for the entire site on 4 and 7.
Well, we have a motion and a second, and we don't have any questions. And Brian made the correction, so the secretary will put partial in the motion. If there's no further questions, roll call vote.
Yes.
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 Okay, do I have a motion to adopt the Plan Commission recommendations, the staff recommendations as preliminary findings of fact?
So moved.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Questions or comments? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Yes.
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 Yes. Okay, that completes 15-18. Do we have any correspondence?
No correspondence.
Do we have any commissioner comments? Mike, do you have a comment? Just hoping we get out of here. Do we have any staff comments?
Just a reminder that we probably will have a Plan Commission meeting on October 19th. I'm waiting on confirmation on a couple of things, but just keep that date open.
Public comments. You're the only one out there, Dan. Do you have any comments?
Thank you, guys. It's been a long process.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
Are we done now? Are you going to be coming back anymore?
Well, we'll be back for the individual lots, but that's the,
Oh, yeah.
I think this is it for the development, so thank you. Thank you, Brian.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Make that motion.
Second.
Those in favor say aye.
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 Those against, motion passes. Meeting's adjourned.